Greetings, everyone.
Good evening. Good to see you, Tonson.
Looking forward to the fantastic news.
Okay, everybody, sorry I'm so blurry, but that's okay. It's more about the presentation than it is about me. I'm going to go ahead and get us started. Welcome one, welcome all. Today is July 17th, 2025. Thank you all for being here. Today is a very auspicious today, as today's date in digital format is 789, which is a linear progression of the last 9 digital roots. This follows yesterday's numerology of 779, which signified the ending of karmic cycles and the beginning of new and better cycles. Whereas 7 means awakening to spirituality and higher knowing through introspection, 8 means embodiment of power, mastery, and balance between material and spiritual integration, and 9 means completion, compassion, global consciousness, and ascension or transcendence. Today carries the frequency of ascending mastery, collective forward movement into purposeful action, and is a spiritual green light to begin building from the inside out rather than looping old patterns. It reflects a quantum hinge point where the world will begin to experience the fall of distorted structures of economic, medical, and political systems, the rising of crystalline blueprints through those prepared to anchor them, and a call to live not from survival, but from stewardship of consciousness. If you are here today, you are likely among those who have been doing the inner work to become a leader in the global evolution of consciousness. Getting into things, right now, everyone except Will, Tonson, and myself should be muted. Later on, when we have a Q&A section, you may raise your hand to be unmuted. Otherwise, you can put your questions into the chat. If you are calling in from the phone, simply press *9 to raise your hand. Tonson Fairmont, the founder of Brilliance in Commerce, is here. As the former host of these webinars, he will continue to attend until further notice to back me up in my new role as the host and to help answer any questions. I'm the host of this webinar, Seth Harris. I'm a social engineer of holographic administrative systems that fully embrace the concepts of equality, freedom, and sovereignty for all. And I am super excited and grateful for my new role as the editor for Brilliance in Commerce and host of these webinars. Brilliance in Commerce is a project of La Verite that has been successfully helping thousands of people to become free from debts and taxes for the past few decades. It is our greatest joy to be spreading the freedom that America was founded upon and the world was meant to have. For those who need it, please take note of the website and phone number listed here. That's brillianceincommerce.com, and the phone number is 360-200-7521. Whoops, I am a little off with my slideshow. Sorry about that. I'm still reading a script. This webinar, I don't know why I must have deleted this part of the script. Anyways, this is the Fair International Commerce slide. If you haven't taken a look at this yet, it's on our website. You might enjoy it. It's a good read. There's the website and phone number for the one that I just talked about. This webinar series is posted to Will Barney's Rumble account and can be accessed through brillianceincommerce.com/videos. You might be familiar with the lies and deceit in the mainstream media. Just make sure to clean your TV with antivirus wipes like this lady, and you too can rid yourself of the various fake news channels. But fortunately, you don't need to worry about that because you're here now to receive the real news with Will Barney. Speaking of which, Will Barney is a brilliant
Thank you,
man who
Seth.
manages. You're welcome. Will Barney is a brilliant man who manages to find facts, truths, and articles hidden within the mainstream media in small little tidbits here and there, and does a wonderful job of piecing them all together into a larger puzzle, displaying the beautiful story of the unfoldment of higher consciousness on this planet and the coming of freedom, higher attunement with universal law, and the new financial system, whether it be called the quantum financial system or otherwise, which will become a more sane, fair, equitable, and abundant system. So, without further ado, let me now end the screen share and introduce the greatly esteemed Will Barney. Please take it from here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Seth, for such a wonderful introduction. It's always a pleasure for me to be with the Brilliance in Commerce audience, probably some of the most enlightened and consciously awake that I have encountered, which is incredible. It's always good to be with you and to share some time together. We're going to be discussing a lot of things tonight. The last time we were together was about 3 weeks ago, and so much has happened in that time. There's probably not time that we can cover all of it, but I want to give a little glimpse of what's happening and how this is going to affect us going forward, not just with financial things, but also in other ways, even with healthcare. So good things are happening positively in the world. So I'm going to turn on the slideshow here and we're going to get started. So first thing here is I usually like to start off with the debt clock. For those that are not following this, it's a good idea to take a look at the messages there. These are meant for everyone to help you understand where we're moving. As you can see, this is the new money revolution, a golden age. This was posted on their website on July 4th. Let me give you a little bit bigger screen. There we go. A declaration by we the people, in accordance with the power granted to we the people by the Most High God, we assert our right to secure our life, liberty, and property. In doing, we find it necessary to undo the injustice brought upon us by the secret private banking conglomerate known as the Federal Reserve. The Fed has systematically stripped the wealth of our nation and placed it in the hands of an elite few, using a carefully crafted criminal scheme dating back over 100 years. While posing as a federal agency, they operated as an unlawful money laundering and racketeering debt and interest exchange that has no actual reserves. Because of the fraudulent nature of the Fed enterprise, we the people seek full reparations and restitution of assets acquired from the inception of the conspiracy to counterfeit the USA dollar. We expect these forfeited assets to be remitted toward the establishment of the USA Sovereign Wealth Reserve, which is exclusively owned by the American people. On this 4th day of July 2025, we the people declare our independence from the Federal Reserve Bank. Now, in addition to this message that was on the debt clock, you might have noticed over the last 2 weeks that President Trump has ramped up rhetoric against the Federal Reserve, speaking a lot about Jerome Powell. We're going to touch on a little bit of that, and we'll actually listen to a few things that he had to say this evening. These aren't a coincidence, and the timing of it is not a coincidence. It's to prepare you for what's coming. Wano Savan had posted this, which was interesting. This was on the 13th of July. He said, just a quick note, as many of you observed, silver moved significantly in the last 2 trading days. This breakout is very significant as the next stop is just short of $50 and will likely be reached in a very short order. I will try to write a longer note later in the week, but this short version is that there is a major divide brewing between the U.S. Treasury and the Federal Reserve, a private banking organization which is no more federal than the Federal Express. So very interesting. If we take a look at silver, this is from today. It was $38.07. This is the Kitco website. But the chart here that you can see to the right, this is for the last year. So you can see how silver's made just a continual move upward. And now here we are cresting $40, which is incredible to see. As we talk about the financial changes, I want to start with this, and I've mentioned it before in previous podcasts, but it's worth reviewing. President Trump signed an executive order on March 25th, 2025, a few months ago, called Protecting America's Bank Account Against Fraud, Waste, and Abuse. And it's all about the Treasury. And within this executive order, there's a couple of things that are worth noting. First is this: the Secretary of the Treasury shall develop a plan to centralize and manage all payments previously dispersed by NTDOs ensuring seamless payments. In Section 5 of this executive order, it says core financial system consolidation within 180 days. As of the date of this order, the OMB director shall issue guidance that direct agencies described in 31 USC 901B CFO Act agencies to consolidate their core financial systems as soon as practicable, but not later than 180 days from the date of this order. And then it says at the bottom there, agencies are to consolidate transactional financial management services under one single provider. So what was happening is different agencies were using various different bank accounts to transact different payments that were going out for government functions. And so this executive order is saying we need one treasury remitting all the bills, and we need it digitized so we know exactly where they're going. So very important. 180 days is going to put us at the end of September at the time of this completion. So we'll see how this plays out. On Monday of this week, on the 14th, FedNow went live. And this is directly from their website. I'm going to read just a couple of parts of this. The Federal Reserve's highly anticipated service for faster payments is 24/7, 365 service will provide U.S. depository institutions as well as U.S. branches of foreign banks the ability to send and receive interbank payments instantly. This is within seconds rather than the standard wire process that we've been using for decades now. Transactions can be settled nearly instantly. So that's what FedNow is, but there's a lot more we're going to discuss with this. FedWire Fund Service ISO 20022 Implementation Center. I've mentioned this in previous podcasts about the importance of this date. This is the date that all banks need to be compliant with ISO 20022. And we'll talk a little bit about exactly what that is so that you understand why this is important. It went live on Monday, and this is one of their timelines that the Federal Reserve had given us to go live, of course, Monday. And this was on their website on Monday, July 14th. And of course, it's got a big green notebook there, July 14th. Everything is a go. Now, I want to show you this next slide. This is also from Monday, FedNow 24/7. FRFS, adopted the ISO 2002 message format for the FedWire Fund Service in a single day implementation strategy that began on July 14th, 2025. What this means is that all payments, and I'll show you a list of what some of those are here. I'll go back to that one, but let's look at the list real quick. Green means, I put get in there, green means go time. But if you look, there's little green check boxes against every one of these items. So these are the following services that are all now compliant with ISO 20022. Accounting services, the central bank, Check 21, check adjustments, Fed ACH, Fed Cash, FedNow, FedWire funds, FedWire securities, national settlements, FedLine Advantage, FedLine Command, FedLine Direct, FedLine Web, FedMail. So what does this mean? And normal operation says it's all green. What this means is that ISO 200 is a messaging format. It is a structure of how financial transactions are to be reported in compliance with blockchain requirements. Okay. Let me go to this because this is helpful for us to understand. What is ISO 20022? ISO 20022 is a harmonized set of extensible markup language known as XML messaging standards across major financial services, domains, cash securities, trade, card, and foreign exchange based on a shared data dictionary and business process model. It has emerged as the enabler of a single common language for all global financial communications that can assist organizations in responding to evolving demands for businesses. ISO 20022 has messages for payments, cash management, remittance information, and corporates can benefit from this ISO 20022 as a means to simplify and standardize their treasury and payment operations. So what this means is that it doesn't matter which blockchain you're operating on if you're adhering to the standard. Here's why. Let's say you've got the Bitcoin ledger, and over here you got a XRP ledger. Well, in the past, different ledgers could sometimes record the transactions a little bit differently. When we get to everybody adopting this standard, it means it doesn't matter what ledger you're on. If the financial reporting is identically the same, it means all systems integrate with each other. They can interface with each other because they're fully compatible. So you can have different cryptocurrency ledgers that all can share information now simultaneously to have more instant settlements. So this is a big deal. We've been talking about it I've been talking about it for a long time, for many, many months. The banks have been working on this for years. This is how long this has been in process. We're finally at a point now. Now, somebody called me the other day and they said, hey, Will, why is it important that the Fed goes ISO 20022? I thought that was for quantum financial system. Well, you have to understand the timing of each of these things. The Fed being compliant and the banks being compliant, and many of the banks, the major banks, I mean like Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Chase, Citibank, even Swift, they went live in November of 23. Okay, so that's quite a while ago, over 18 months ago. So they've been there, they were there first, but now all these other banks are now caught up. Why is the Fed using this system if this is going to be a quantum financial system? It's because the quantum financial system has not yet been launched. Why? Because there is still a regulatory framework of laws and orders that must be passed to shore up that system and give it lawful credence. So you can't just flip a switch and, the Trump just signed executive orders saying, oh, we're on the quantum financial system. But what is it? And what laws back that up and give that verification? So that leads us to where we're going to go here in the next part of our segment, because this is absolutely incredible what is happening right now. Let's get back to the slides. Advancing business to business payments. This just means that the ISO standard is going to allow businesses to remit payments and do it very quickly and efficiently within seconds. Okay. Board of Governors, Federal Reserve System. This was a joint press release on July 14th. And this wasn't about FedNow or the ISO. This was a separate release that they released today that was very important, and I'm going to give you some clarity on this. Agency issues joint statement on risk management considerations for crypto asset safekeeping. Why would they need to say this? Okay, so let's take a look at it. The crypto asset safekeeping by banking organizations. And I'm just reading the red part here underlined. For purposes of this statement, safekeeping is defined as the service of holding an asset on a customer's behalf. So that basically is where the bank holds your crypto for you. Even though you own it, they're acting as a custodian to hold that for you. Next part here, it says banking organizations that provide crypto asset safekeeping in a fiduciary capacity must comply with 12 CFR 9 or 150. What does that mean? It means that it's the same standard for holding cryptos as it is for any other money, any other asset they may hold for you as a custodian. Okay. This is a big deal. And it was interesting that the Fed would issue this notice to all the banks on the very day that the ISO goes live, because what is ISO? It is compatibility with blockchain. we can now share information seamlessly within those. And this means that the banks need to mind their P's and Q's. They need to be good stewards of what they're holding for you and to make sure that you're not losing anything. Trump has made several comments about Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve over the last few weeks. I'm going to share this short video. It's about a minute and a half, but I want you to hear the whole thing because there's some clues in here about what's happening.
I think if Jerome Powell stepped down, it would be a great thing. I don't know that he's going to, but he should. Jerome Powell's been very bad for our country. We should have the lowest interest rate on earth, and we don't. He just refuses to do it, and yet he's spending $2.5 billion rebuilding the Fed, the Federal Reserve building. And I don't know what he knows about building, but you talk about cost overrun. So he got this approved, and he started the work during the Biden administration. And he doesn't look like the kind of a guy, frankly, that wants to spend $2.5 billion. And it's very interesting because out of 71 economists, one person, me, and then one other person, I think from Wharton, got it right. And the others were all wrong in terms of the success of our country this quickly. We have no inflation. We have cash pouring in. It was me and somebody else. Then I can tell you, I don't need 5,000 people working for me behind the scenes like Jerome Powell to tell him what he should say once a month because they got it wrong. The Fed got it wrong. I call him too late. He's always too late. Every point cost us $360 billion. Think of that. And we should be 3 points. That's almost $1 trillion. Approximately $1 trillion less we should be just with the signing of a piece of paper. So we'll see what happens. I mean, you're telling me he's going to quit. I hope he quits. I don't know that he's going to quit, but he should quit because he's been very bad for the country.
Okay. So we're watching this narrative play out where, and you have seen this over and over with President Trump, where he likes to create these battles between different individuals and different agencies. He likes to really bring attention to a subject when he does this. And it doesn't matter if it's the Epstein stuff or if it's the Federal Reserve or anything else. When he creates this rift, it draws everybody's immediate attention right to what that is. And the reason they're doing that is because they're going to show, as the debt clock showed us, that this is a criminal organization, a banking cartel, much like any other criminal cartel, but designed to fleece the people of money. And it's done in a variety of different ways. But most importantly, you're going to find that the tax agencies, and it doesn't matter if it's IRS here in the US or CRA in Canada or whatever, the tax agencies are all owned by the central banks. And who owns the central banks? Well, a private group of elite people. So when you send your taxes in, they're going to that bank. They're not going to your government. They go to that bank, and then your government will borrow money from that bank, right? To borrow back. However, what's really interesting, and I've noticed this in the United States, each of you in different countries, you can take a look at this yourself and look at the accounting. In the United States, Congress has a budget item for the interest paid on the debt. So my question is this: if Congress is budgeting to pay interest on the debt for the country, what is the income tax paying for? And the short answer is not the government. It's not even paying for the debt. It's going directly to the banks. It is actually a form of rent to use their currency because it's their own currency. So I don't want to give anybody a heart attack with that information, but that's the reality of it. And this is all going to come out. There's going to be more and more light shed on this over and over as we go forward. The IRS isn't just sending that money to the Treasury when they collect it. No, it goes directly to the Federal Reserve. And once it hits there, it doesn't pass go. It goes right on to wherever it's going to go. And most of the time, that's out of country. Okay. So give you an example. In the United States, there's probably some 900 billion plus or so that is collected via income tax. Where does that money go? It leaves the country. So it's kind of like having a big vacuum cleaner just sucking 900 billion out of the economy, but not contributing it back. If the money was actually going to the government would use it in payroll. They would use it in services that they were providing for the people. And that gets recycled back into the economy, right? So that's a little different. So what's happening is we are now entering this disclosure phase. Well, we're now opening the windows for everybody to see, here's what's really been going on, and it's not what you think. So big stuff as we go forward here. Let's move on. On Monday, July 14th, Crypto Potato posted this: XRP poised to benefit as Fedwire adopts ISO 20022 upgrade, analyst claims. Why? Because XRP is fully compliant with ISO 20022, has been from the beginning, but so is 7 other coins. You got XLM, you got Quant, you got XDC, you got HBAR. So there's 8 coins that are right now fully compliant with this standard. And what does that mean? It means anybody that's dealing in those cryptos, you now have the ability, because everybody's using the same reporting standard, to convert those cryptos to cash in bank accounts, because now the bank accounts have to synchronize with the blockchain. So congratulations if you made the good choice to invest in things that are compliant with the new standards. It'll probably bode very well for you. I noticed a lot of cryptos are up this week. I mean, majorly up this week. Here's a press release from the Financial Services Department of Congress. House announces week of July 14th as Crypto Week. And for those that have been watching, there's a lot going on. Congressman Zach Noon, today marks the start of Crypto Week on the Hill. Financial crime is advancing clear rules to protect consumers, regulate the crypto market, and keep America leading in innovation. Now, for those that have been following this week, is like I have, last night, late, I mean like the middle of the night, they agreed to advance all 3 of the major crypto bills in the House to move towards votes. So hopefully we'll have some votes take place either tonight or tomorrow. That's going to help us wrap these up. What are the 3 bills? The bills are the Genius Bill, which is all about stablecoins and providing a regulatory framework around stablecoins, what constitutes a stablecoin and what has to back a stablecoin. Now, for those that don't know, right now throughout the world, there is a lot of different stablecoins, but 99% of them, that's pretty much all, are all tied to the US dollar as their backing. What does that mean? It means the US dollar is not going away. It's actually going to be reinforced. The question is, which dollar is it going to eventually be tied to? Okay. A Federal Reserve dollar or a Treasury dollar. So keep an eye on that. There's more to come in that regard. So a little more, The Hill posted this: ending the era of uncertainty, Congress delivers for crypto. Late last night, they said they agreed to move all of those 3 bills to a vote in Congress. Genius Bill on stablecoins, Clarity Act. This is from the House, and it's all about regulatory authority on cryptocurrencies. Okay. So stablecoins, cryptocurrencies. And then the third one was a bill that says there can be no CBDCs. In other words, central bank can't control and regulate what you can spend your money on. Okay. So all 3 of those are now moving forward in the House, and probably will go back to the Senate here really soon. Tom Emmer said this is the most pro-crypto Congress ever. By passing the Clarity Act, the Genius Act, and the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act, we will protect Americans' right to privacy and ensure innovation remains in the USA. So first we had the big, beautiful bill. Now we have regulatory laws being placed around the new cryptocurrency. We have all the banks on board with ISO 200. Are you guys getting excited yet? You should be getting super excited, because this is all lining up for a delivery of new money on the new rails. So it's super exciting. U.S. House passed the resolution 580. I think that passed 217 to 214, pretty much down party lines. All the key votes to move all three of the bills forward. Okay. In Ripple news, and I wanted to cover a little bit of this because there's so much cool stuff going on with Ripple. For those that follow Ripple, Ripple is the technological custodian that's basically takes care of XRP. Okay. They don't own XRP. Nobody owns XRP in terms of it. It's this, except those that have tokens, but they are the ones that oversee it, right? So here on July 2nd, they announced that we're working together to embed open paid universal financial infrastructure with Ripple's enterprise-grade stablecoin and blockchain network. The result, faster, simpler, more transparent global payments. OpenPaid is a European company predominantly, but they are doing trying to do real-time payment settlements for like employers, for payroll, for things like this. This is a big deal because it's integrating the technological expertise that Ripple's has in delivering real-time payments into these systems. What this does is it prepares, and this isn't just Europe. We got a lot of other places working on this, but it prepares the way for people to be paid not once a week, not every other week on Thursday like you're doing now. I mean, why are we paid every 2 weeks when you work your job? Well, because payments are slow, payments are clunky, and payments are expensive. So they want to minimize how many they have to do. But with crypto, with ISO 20022 instant settlement, you could be paid by the hour. You could be paid by the minute. You could be paid at the end of each day. And it costs very little money to do it. It's so inexpensive. And so this is going to change everything. So that's a news. Also on July 2nd, and this is absolutely huge news here in the United States. Brad Garlinghouse, CEO of Ripple, said this: true to our long-standing compliance roots, Ripple is applying for a national bank charter from the OCC. If approved, we would have both state via the NYDFS and federal oversight, a new and unique benchmark for trust in the stablecoin market. Earlier this week, via standard custody, we also applied for a Fed master account. While Congress is working towards clear rules and regulations, and banks, in a far cry from the years of Operation Choke Point 2.0, are leaning in. This access would allow us to hold RLUSD, that is the Ripple's stablecoin, reserves directly with the Fed and provide an additional layer of security to future-proof trust in the RLUSD. So this is Ripple's move to make the RLUSD, which is backed by US dollars. Again, keep that in mind, that right now it's considered treasuries that are backing this. However, if the dollar is suddenly backed by gold, you can imagine what this would do for Ripple to have a master Fed account. And so systems are operational. We are getting there, folks. Cool stuff. A little bit more in Ripple news here. BNY, Bank of New York Mellon. For those that don't know, this is one of the largest banks in the United States. Maybe not by customers, but by asset size. They hold accounts for some of the wealthiest people in the world. BNY announced this. BNY selected it to serve as the primary reserve custodian of Ripple's enterprise-grade stablecoin, Ripple USD. Monica Long, the president of Ripple, stated this: another key milestone for RLUSD in the books. Partnering with institutions like BNY to custody reserves ensures that RLUSD has the gold standard in regulatory compliance, further cementing our position as the go-to stablecoin for global enterprise. Okay, so what is BNY doing here? A lot of people read this like, I don't understand. What's the point of this? The point is this: Ripple has to hold treasuries and other liquid assets to back the stable coin that they issue, the RLUSD. BNY, Bank of New York Mellon, is going to hold these treasuries as a custodian for Ripple. They're going to use their vast, not just their bank account capacity, but their a vault capacity, because they have a serious vault system, that they can store all the reserves that Ripple needs to back up all of their US dollars. So this is a big deal. It's a big partnership. Ripple joining with one of the biggest banks in America, probably one of the biggest banks, if not the biggest in America, to handle all the custody for this. Get ready. We're going to be doing things differently in the future. I know there's some of you that are retirement age or a little bit older, and you're like, oh my gosh, this crypto stuff scares the crap out of me. Everything that's new seems a little scary at first, but this is about transparency. The Ripple net, the XRP ledger is total transparency. You cannot money launder. Everything is known. It's the safest thing that you can have, and thieves are stopped instantly. Now, the current system, that wasn't the case, but now all the banks have to report on ISO 20022. What does this mean? No more funny business. No more monkeying around in the back books. Can't be done anymore. It's now open and transparent. So big deal, folks. It's huge this week. One more page on the Ripple news. Ripple impact drought insurance pilot program in Kenya. Okay, a lot of you probably didn't realize Ripple was working on insurance. Okay, but they are. So they did a pilot program in Kenya. It concluded successfully, ensuring 517 pastoralists, 70% of these farmers were actually women, using RLUSD. Satellite data showed favorable vegetation during the pilot period, so no payout was triggered. So they ended up not having to, they provided insurance, basically like crop insurance, if you will, for Kenya on this pilot program. They didn't have to pay out because things went well last year. But it says the unused RLUSD rolls into next pilot phase in providing coverage for the same farmers for the next high-risk season later this year. So Ripple is now testing and proving insurance can be done very cost-effectively on blockchain. And this is incredible stuff. Next, I realize this is a little small because I probably should have done these one at a time on slides, sorry. In partnership with Control Alt and the Dubai Land Development, Ripple Custody will deliver scalable and secure storage for the Dubai Land Development tokenized real estate title deeds, which have been issued on the XRP ledger, enabling fractional ownership, transparency, and global access to Dubai's real estate market. We talked about this in previous podcasts, that one of the big things that's coming is the tokenization of real estate on the blockchain. And Ripple's now announcing, hey, we're doing it in Dubai. It's coming soon to a country near you. So that's going to continue to spread. If the tokens are on the XRPL and the money's on the XRPL, how easy is that to transact real estate? You can close in like 5 seconds with a smart contract, and it's done. And you don't have to worry about who owns it. The record's right there on the XRPL. You know who owns it. You don't have to worry about recording. All the weird recording stuff, no longer necessary. So huge, huge where this is going, folks. This is a big deal. This is just a picture. I'm not going to play a video for it, bore everybody. Okay, this was on Fox News. Treasury reveals that 27 billion budget surplus in the month of June. Now, I'm going to show you this next slide because this is a big deal. CNBC and Reuters reported in April, okay? CNBC reported this the 1st of April, and I'll read it. Tariffs will likely raise much less money than the White House projects, economists say. Reuters on April 4th said this: Trump tariff now fears of trade wars and recession and $2,300 iPhones, okay? But what's actually happened? The Treasury posts unexpected surplus in June as tariff receipts are surging. U.S. customs duties top 100 billion for the first time in a fiscal year. There's now more revenue coming in than anybody anticipated, and it's blowing everybody's minds. How could a developer from New York get it right? Amazing what these policies are doing. Now, a lot of people struggle with the tariff thing. Oh my gosh, everything's going to be more expensive. It's going to cost more. And I want to talk about that for just a second, because this is an important, you got to keep a higher picture here. The picture is this. I'm going to paint the picture. We've lost 90,000 factories across America in the last 30 years. 90,000 plus. How do we get those back? How do we bring back this kind of production where we're making things again? We're producing things here. There has to be an incentive to rebuild that manufacturing base. And the only way you can do a proper incentive is to make it more expensive to bring it in from outside so that you build it here. Is it working? Yes, it's working. There is now announcements of over 15 trillion that are being pledged in the United States over the next 5 years to build manufacturing and production facilities here in America. This is big. So I don't expect the tariffs to go away for a period of time, because it's all about rebuilding this base. If you don't manufacture, you can't really bring money in. If you only consume, your money goes one direction and it's right out the door, right? Eventually your bank account's empty unless you have something coming back to you. So how do you bring it back to you? You make things, you manufacture things. That brings money back in. And so that's how we're getting to a balanced economy is by rebuilding our manufacturing base. So cool stuff going on here. Okay, let's move on. MAEGA, Make America's Education Great Again. So let's talk about education for a minute, because there's some cool stuff that happened this week, in fact. Okay, first is this. The Supreme Court just handed another major victory to the Trump administration, clearing the path for 1,400 headcount reduction at the Department of Education, aligning with President Trump's mission to return education to the states. Okay, Supreme Court said yes, the government has a right to let people go. Okay, they were trying to fight that and say, no, you can't disband it. Well, apparently you can, according to law. Next, this is the actual order that was in this the Supreme Court document. I'm just going to read the part underlined. The May 22nd, 2025 preliminary injunction entered by the United States District Court for the District of Massachusetts case number 125 CV 10601 is stayed pending the disposition of the appeal in the United States Court. So basically, injunction is gone. You can't be doing that. You can't have rogue judges just throwing injunctions just because you don't like what the government's doing. This was posted by the U.S. Department of Education, and it's a quote by our secretary, Linda McMahon. It is one thing to learn cursive and read the Declaration of Independence. It is another to grasp why 56 men risked everything for what it said and to love as they did in a way that inspires sacrifice. I love that. We need more patriotism, and we certainly need more understanding of our roots and our history. So let's look at healthcare. Healthcare is changing dramatically under this current administration, particularly Robert Kennedy Jr., who is our health secretary. He is on it. And one of the big things that he's pushing for is removal of anything that's toxic that could be contributing to the sickness and other ailments that we have, all the way to even autism and all these other things that they're trying to find the solution to. So let's look at some of these, okay? First off, Attorney General Pam Bondi posted this: at my direction, the Justice Department has dismissed charges against Dr. Kirk Moore. Dr. Moore gave his patients a choice when the federal government refused to do so. He did not deserve the years in prison he was facing. It ends today. Dr. Moore was put in jail because he gave his patients a choice when it came to the vaccine, COVID vaccination. You didn't have to have it, and he was allowing people to have a choice. They came back and said, no, you can't do that. Everybody had to have it, which of course is unconstitutional. And so this injustice has now been taken care of, which is good. Next, FDA. Let's talk about the FDA. So the FDA was really on a tear this week. They held a press conference. Today we granted a color additive petition to the use of the color gardenia blue in various foods. It levels consistent with good manufacturing practices. Gardenia blue is derived from the fruit of the gardenia, a flowering evergreen. The FDA has approved the color additive for use in sports drinks, flavored or enhanced non-carbonated water, fruit drinks, and aids, ready-to-drink teas, hard candy, and soft candy. This is a big deal because what had been used was petroleum-based dyes, okay? So we're removing all of the petroleum-based stuff. Now we're going to all natural colorings like the gardenia blue. So big deal. Here it is, FDA press release. FDA approves gardenia blue color additive while encouraging faster phase out of the FD&C red number 3. And then here's a quote here from RFK Jr. Every day, children are exposed to synthetic chemicals in foods that serve no purpose to strengthen their health. Sorry, my eyes aren't as good as they used to be. The FDA's approval of gardenia blue shows we're finally putting kids first. Thanks to Dr. Marty Maliki's bold leadership, we're cutting through the industry influence and taking decisive action to make America healthy again. So good stuff going on there in healthcare. Now let's, this is one of my favorite subjects. I come from a long line of ice cream lovers. Okay. So hopefully some of you out there are ice cream lovers too. We're going to take a look at the ice cream industry. How do these dyes and stuff affect the ice cream industry? Well, let's see what they're doing. And this also big news posted this week.
Thank you, Secretary Rollins, Secretary Kennedy, Commissioner McCary, for the opportunity to speak today about this significant voluntary industry-led commitment to remove certified artificial colors from commercially produced ice cream products. I am Andy Jacobs, chair of the IDFA Ice Cream Board and chief executive officer of Turkey Hill Dairy, one of the nation's premier ice cream brands. Today's announcement represents a commitment by dozens of individual ice cream companies, from small independent companies to family-owned companies going back generations to large multinationals. We have all come together as the ice cream industry to lead major change and to make this commitment to remove artificial colors. And you may ask, why are we taking this action today? There are 3 good reasons. First, many of the commercial ice cream manufacturers have already phased out certified artificial colors, and many others are currently working with suppliers to phase them out as quickly as possible. Second, by taking this step now, ice cream manufacturers are ensuring that ice cream remains a special part of our lives as consumer preferences change and the nation's regulatory priorities evolve. As ice cream makers, we want to ensure families continue to enjoy their favorite wholesome ice cream treat. And third, this is about showing consumers and our communities that we are stepping up. We know that Americans eat roughly 19 pounds of ice cream a year. Think about that. We also know that ice cream is important to our dairy farmers, our ice cream making communities, and our food retail partners. U.S. ice cream contributes almost $12 billion to the U.S. economy and supports over 27,000 dairy industry jobs. We want to ensure that we continue these bonds with our consumers and, more importantly, to grow our impact on the economy. I will close by thanking the dozens of U.S. ice cream companies that have come together to lead this important industry initiative, and we will remove artificial colors from ice cream. Thank you very much.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. So here was a little tidbit to drop this week. I thought it was very interesting. This was on Monday. Biden lawyers up after his longtime personal attorney, Bob Bauer, quits amid the auto pen scandal. Lawyer doesn't even want to touch this one. He doesn't want to be anywhere near it. So this is going to be a challenge as it looks like actual criminal charges may be coming forward on the auto pen scandal. We'll have to see how that one plays out. Very interesting. Melissa Redfield posted this. She always has some very interesting things. I was been aware of this, but I hadn't checked it in a while. It was nice of her to bring it to my attention. Huge. We have the money, folks. Here is the current list of seized assets on the U.S. Treasury website. These are assets seized from those involved in child trafficking and corruption. It is currently 3,044 pages, 3 columns, tiny print, has to be trillions. I actually went to the Treasury's website. I took a look at it myself. I couldn't believe it. The list of seized assets. It is absolutely tremendous. I don't think we have to worry about any debts this country has. They're all going to be covered in an incredible way, and probably many times over is what it's looking like here. They may have seized enough to pay the debt 3 times. So incredible what's going on. Before we play this final thing here, Il Donato Trumpo posted this, and which is a lot of people joke about this. Oh, it's just Trump's alter ego playing around late at night. Who knows? Could be just somebody that's having fun. Calls itself a parody account. They're not ready for what's coming. So before I play the video, I just want to say that I hope you're getting as excited as I am about what's coming. That we're living in a time when we have this great opportunity to really see the fulfillment of dreams, where America can grow and expand and have a golden age of financial freedom away from this controlled tyranny of a system that has controlled our financial lives for the last 100+ years. It is amazing because now we're seeing laws, orders, validation to back up what we've been talking about for years. It's now coming to fruition where we can actually see it becoming something that can't be undone because it's now the law of the land. And that's an important part. You can't have NESARA GESARA just halfway. You can't just have the president come out and say, oh, we're doing this. It has to be done lawfully, legally. It needs to be not be able to unwound. If you're going to have a release of a revaluation of currencies for those holding those assets, that money is tied directly to the implementation of these things. And when I say implementation, I mean pass it by law. So don't expect, this is why I keep saying, don't expect the RV until we have the conclusion of some of this. But now we're seeing the conclusion. It's coming faster and faster and faster. So House has said they want all the crypto stuff passed no later than August. So we've got, what, 2 weeks left or less than 2 weeks to finish that. Let's see if they get it done. I'm hoping it's done the end of this week. That would be perfect for me. I would love that. But the Treasury, as we look at that executive order, they have until basically the end of September to finish. Doesn't mean they couldn't do it sooner. They could do it sooner, and maybe Labor Day is magical, right? So we'll have to see how this plays out. But I really think the next 6 weeks, which leads us up to that kind of Labor Day timeframe, are going to be absolutely incredible in terms of positioning our country where we can have a reset in a major, incredible way. So let's just end with this little video. It's just a little bit of fun. There we go.
Will, is there supposed to be no sound on that?
Awesome. So I hope you're excited. Hope you're enjoying your summer, is because this summer is lit. So we'll turn it back to you, Seth. Thank you for having me tonight.
Will,
All
was there
right.
supposed to be no sound on that?
What's that?
Was there
Was that-
supposed to be no sound on that video?
There was supposed to be sound. Did you not hear any?
There was a
Seth,
little bit of
could-
music at first, and then it just kind of went silent.
Yeah, it was
Really?
just a video of the car moving.
Oh, I heard the sound on my end. I don't know why it cut out for you.
Yeah,
So
all
I'll
your
have
other
to,
videos worked.
Yeah, that's I don't know why I'm not sure why it did that. So I'll have to
Hmm.
I'll have to check my system a little bit later, see if there's like I said, I had a little audio issue at first, so maybe I got a glitch going on here. I gotta run
It's
down.
Mercury retrograde.
It's a good thing to
Perhaps,
blame
but
it
it's
on.
basically the theme from Rocky, right? So,
Oh, okay.
so it was great. It was great music. um, makes you feel like we're winning, and we are. So it's wonderful.
All right, so getting started with the Q&A now. Anyone that has any questions, feel free to raise your hand. If you're calling in from the phone, make sure you press *9 to raise your hand. Otherwise, you can feel free to type your messages into the chat. We've already got a few questions in here, so I'll get started. Blair Mills has 3, perhaps 4 questions to get us started with. Question number 1. With the passage of the Big Beautiful Bill and the Genius Act laying the foundation for NESARA GESARA, what can we do to prepare to take action to learn more about the upcoming reset?
Well, one of the great things that you can do is you can start preparing yourself for what blockchain is, what is cryptocurrency. I realize it's new. It seems ambiguous to a lot of people. 5 years ago, I didn't understand it at all, right? And I come from a banking background. So it's taken me a while to kind of learn. What I did is I just said, you know what? I'm going to open an account on an exchange. I'm going to take $100 and I'm going to buy some crypto and I'm going to figure out what this is. I'm going to spend $100 on some education. That's what I told myself. And that's what I did. I just got started, did what I could do to learn it. I now understand it better now. And you kind of learn by doing. It just comes the more you do it. But it's really simple, and I'll try to keep it simple for you. Is that you have, instead of a physical wallet, like something you would hold the paper in, you have what's called a digital wallet. A digital wallet can be on your phone or it could be on your computer. And, or in the case of the exchanges, it's on the exchange itself. You just log into the website, right, to get to it. The only challenge with the exchanges is they hold the wallet. And that also means that they hold the keys, security keys. And this is a big distinction about the difference between the digital world and physical world. In the physical world, if you hold, dollars, you're holding the money, right? You have it, it's in your hands. But in the digital world, the tokens are recorded on the ledger, which is, like I said, it's a public ledger. The tokens are recorded on the ledger, but the only people that can access those tokens to move them, to transfer them, to buy and sell are those that hold the security keys to move it. So in the case of hardware wallets, and it doesn't matter if it's something small, whether you've got like a little one, I don't know if I still have it. No, it's not here with me, but I've got a smaller one that's only, I don't know, it's tiny, about the size of a thumb drive, right? That's a digital wallet, but it's not holding your tokens. It's holding the security keys to access your tokens that belong to you. And so whoever has the security keys actually has the access. So when you have a wallet on the exchange, whether it be like a Coinbase or or any of these types of things, they technically hold the security keys for you, right? But that also means they could probably be doing things with those tokens that you don't know about. That's the downside. So if you have a hardware wallet, that means that you have the ability to hold the tokens yourself. No one can do anything with it except for you. And so it gives you the ability to hold those keys personally. So that's just a strong distinction. Good question, Blair. There is things that we need to be doing, but I think the most important thing we can do is try to understand this new digital world, because things are going to move much faster in digital land. You know, for instance, wires sent in the morning could arrive by late afternoon. They're sent in the afternoon, you get it tomorrow morning. That's a pretty typical wire time. But with, say, XRP, you can send it to somebody and they have it in 5 seconds, right? That's why FedNow says it's near instant settlement, right? Because that's what they're doing, is they're transacting on digital rails. So learning that, I think, is probably the best thing you can do to prepare yourself for what's coming. I don't think there's anything more important at this point. Hope that helps.
All right, the second question is there any value in purchasing Vietnamese dong? As I understand it, it is one of the key reevaluation currencies that is a steal of a deal today, or any other currencies from the banknote world?
Well, there's several different countries that are extremely undervalued, where their value does need to go up because of what's gone on in that country. Vietnam is a good example of this, where 40 years ago, actually nearly 50 years ago now, we were there in a war with Vietnam, right? In the jungles, dealing with that. And they've kind of never really fully recovered from that war crisis. They have recovered in a big way, but they've never really gotten their value back in terms of their money. So is there going to be an increased value to that going forward? Yeah, I do think there's going to be. What is that number? It's not yet been disclosed. There's a few, I've heard of a few people that have issued some potential, I'm going to call it potential because I don't think they're locked down, contracts with various pricing. But I don't think you could count on those. You will be told what you can have for it when you do your redemption appointment. But I am pretty sure it's going to be a lot more than its value is today. So that's a good example of a country that's just undervalued, right? So I'm not here for financial advice or to help you with that. If you want to participate in buying those, I mean, you'll have to do your own research on that. Hope it helps.
Okay, his third question is, what is your continuing view of Mark Carney and his role of what is coming?
Well, for those that are watching, Mark is a very interesting fellow. So he gets elected. I don't know if it was by vote, but it was what was declared. And his first trip is he comes to the U.S. and he meets with President Trump, and then there's a big discussion going on there about what could happen. And of course, Trump says in that meeting, and I played some of that video, yeah, Canada should be the 51st state. Well, Mark gets tough. He goes back to Canada and he starts talking tough to the Canadian people. We're going to push back against Trump. We're not going to allow this to happen. And there was the implementation of a 3%, which is not a very big tax, but a 3% tax on technology companies. And this would include like Microsoft and Google and stuff like this, that was going to go into effect. And Trump basically said, we're calling off all negotiations because you're now taxing our technology companies. It didn't take long before Carney had to back off of that. And now he's telling the Canadian people, this is as of just this week, that there's probably no deal that we make with America that doesn't have no tariffs. like no matter what deal we get, there's going to be some tariffs. And now he's trying to tell the Canadian people it's what it is. What part is Mark playing? Some think he's just playing a dramatization role to help bring along everybody to get on the same page with where we're going with Jassara and everything. I don't know for sure. He comes from the socialist group of folks. Many call him Trudeau 2.0. I'm not Canadian. I'm not trying to judge the man, but I think that you're going to see a little more drama occur with Mark Carney, and all of that I think is designed ultimately to awaken everybody to the issue. Now, America doesn't have to really do much about that presently, at least the last few weeks, because the premier of Alberta and Saskatchewan are making more than enough headlines for those watching that. The province of Alberta probably generates 75% of all energy revenue for Canada, and it sends this money to Ottawa. Do you think it gets that money back to help their people? No, not even close, right? They only get a fraction of it back. And they're kind of saying, hey, this isn't right. It isn't fair. And now there's talk there's going to be a referendum where the people are going to vote whether they want to stick with Ottawa or they want to go on their own. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out and how Mark might deal with that issue. It's becoming a bigger issue than even I thought it was a month ago. So it's really gained some acceptance among the people. They're saying about 30% ish are for the referendum to be independent and to leave the Ottawa, but that's still not enough. That's not a majority, but it's higher than it was because a month ago it was only like 20% or 25%. So it's certainly going in an upward direction. So we'll have to see how that ultimately plays out. I've said this before in previous podcasts. I think ultimately, if Canada makes a decision, whether it's for their good economically or whatever, but if they make a decision to join the United States, the decision will have to come by vote of the people. And hopefully you're using a vote system that isn't rigged, because they've all been rigged. So maybe use paper when you do that vote so there's a real count. Anyway, I hope that helps.
All right, his final question, at least for now, perhaps, is if silver breaks out over $50 USD, is this another sign of the reset?
Absolutely. It is, it's like putting pressure. It's squeezing the fiat central bank. Okay. Real metals will do that. And they don't have the gold or the silver to back what they have in circulation. So the more that silver goes up, the more that presses on them. And there were some major banks that were shorting silver. Bank of America is one of those. They've been trying to unwind all those deals, but every dollar it went up was costing the bank nearly $1 billion because they'd shorted it so much. So unwise that they were doing that, but that shows you how the banks manipulate stuff. Everybody gets around to where we're headed is a world where there is no manipulation. There's just market expression, right? But that's not what we've had. We've had a few elite banking group that has been fixing the prices for their own benefit. So I do think that $38 to $40 was like a milestone. Okay. I think we hit that this last week. And now I think Juan is correct. The next trigger is that $50 range. When we hit that, the problem is once you hit those certain markers, it's just then it's going to really shoot up. And I think we're going to see a little more squeeze as it inches upward before it really launches. Now, the U.S. debt clock says the value of silver should be like $1,200 or $1,100 an ounce. Okay. Well, $38 is a far cry from that. And the ratio between gold and silver, if you look at, okay, how much silver does it take to equal gold, right? It's like 90-1. But if you go back 6,000 years of history, it's typically ranged somewhere between 10-1 to 20-1, right? That's the typical range. So we're way out of whack right now. So, which means silver's massively depressed. Hope that helps.
Very interesting. Ross has a couple questions for us. Question number one is, any opinion on what will happen to the Canadian chartered banks and credit unions when the Fed goes down and the Central Bank of Canada?
All banks that are choosing to be compliant with the new standard of where we're going will survive. They'll be able to access funds because their bank will be compliant with the ISO specification. That being said, no bank is going to know what you have in your personal QFS wallet. Okay. That's only you know that. They only know what you send to them. Okay. In terms of what they're going to do. So I'm talking about how this is going to work in the future. Is if you send money to a bank and you say, I want your investment program, will you invest this for me and grow it for me? Yeah, they'll do that. Send them $500,000 or whatever. They'll do that. But they're not going to know what you really have. Maybe you got 20 million sitting in your own private wallet. They have no way of knowing that. In the old bank system, they could look that up because if anything was in a bank system, they could find it and see it. So major changes. When the Federal Reserve comes down, it means all central banks will crumble because the Federal Reserve is the kingpin of them all. You bring it down and none of the others can survive. They will all collapse like the Central Bank of Canada. Okay, it'll come down too. So that means that you need to have a treasury that takes over to not only regulate the banks, but then issue the currency. So is Canada ready for that? I don't know. There's some serious questions for that. If they join the U.S., as I've already shown tonight, is getting ready for that. So it'll be interesting to see, and we'll watch Canada closely to see if they're making steps that are moving themselves closer to being ready. Hope that helps.
Okay, we have a couple raised hands. I'm going to get to them in just a minute. One more question from Ross, and then I'll get to you, Nancy, since you're next in the chat. In what form will a token be for real property? Digital, physical, print document? Has anyone created a bill of sale yet for real estate?
Short answer is yes. They're done in what's known as smart contracts. So when you tokenize real estate, you basically take the deed and the information on the deed, and it gets put onto a digital token. So now that it's freely available on the system. Okay. As I indicated earlier, like what's happening in Dubai, they're doing this in Dubai where they're creating tokens for real estate. Now, the interesting thing about that is on the digital rails, you can swap money for tokens and those can be exchanged very quickly, very fast. In fact, the moment that transaction concludes, it's now recorded on the blockchain. It's now public information. You don't have to go to a county and record it. They already know who owns it. It's who paid for it, right? Because it was exchanged and the ledger's showing that. So it's going to change the way that we deal with real estate. We're not going to need to do all these county recording stuff because everything's going to be fully there. And if you don't have the token, you don't own the property. Now, the question's going to come when people want to borrow money. Okay, I want to get a loan for this property. How is that going to work? Because I don't see where the bank is going to be able to hold that token as collateral for you and then hand it back to you later when you've paid it off. Would I do that? No, I wouldn't do that. if I was the one buying the house, if I was borrowing some money, we'll come to an agreement on terms of the money, but I'm not going to hand you the token that represents the deed of my house. And then and trust you'll just give it back to me at the end. I don't know if I would trust the banks to do that. But digitally, that's kind of how it works. That's kind of what it is. So when you digitize the deed, it's now a token. And that token is held by the person that holds the keys to move that token, right? So now, if the bank wanted to hold the token, they would also have to have the keys. And is that a good idea? Because then they could do whatever they wanted to with it. So I think in the digital world, we're going to have to look at financing of property way different than we look at it today. I probably created more questions than I solved with that answer, but that's really what we're looking at.
That's okay. That's what we're here for. All righty. Nancy, you're unmuted. You're good to go.
Yes, hi there. I always so look forward to this Zoom. And so, Will, since you do receive the inside scoop you do on a variety of topics, I am wondering, number one, if you have heard anything about fluoride. We heard RFK Jr. talk about that before he held his position, but haven't heard a heck of a lot of about that since. And then the other thing is probably for a lot of people is the concern about weather warfare. For example, what we saw in Texas. And do we see getting some control over that so that becomes a thing of the past? Thank you.
It's very interesting. There were some instructions that were given out militarily this week to dismantle all HARP systems, particularly the HARP facility in Alaska. They want it completely dismantled.
I hope that includes Rainmaker.
Just touching on that now, the cabal has tried to implement various pieces of equipment all over the world to do what they want to do. And it will go away. Every time there's an event, believe me, they're finding it. They're finding it. It's just amazing that there was this much equipment that was spread out, right? Spread around. So I do think the weather warfare is going to come under control. But it's one of those things where you don't know what's out there until they use it, and then you can go take it out, right? But you don't know what else they have that they might use later, right? So it's been a game of attrition in terms of removing it, and it takes a while to get it all. So that's the weather thing. In terms of fluoride, fluoride was basically a byproduct of some of the chemical refining, petroleum and stuff. And they found there were other things they could do with this because it really affected people, calmed them down and made them more docile. So they started putting it in the water system. They started convincing all of the dentists, this is going to help with cavities and everything else. Of course, it didn't do anything of the sort. It was nothing but a sales job that they did on dentists, and they really sold it hard. They sold it hard on the medical schools where the dentists were going to school, and they really did a lot to push this. Now, RFK Jr. came out and publicly congratulated Utah, the state of Utah, for doing what they do. They have outlawed fluoride in any drinking water system in Utah. It's now state law. It's the only state that I'm aware of so far, though, that has actually done that. I do think you're going to see more states jump on board as the awareness comes up more. And you will see more coming from the MAHA movement to make America healthy again, pushing for more of this going forward. So I don't think it's something that we're going to just solve in a day. I think it's going to be something they're going to work at and hopefully over the next 6 months, 8 months, 18 months, whatever, we get it handled. Hope that helps.
Thank you.
All right. Did you have any more questions before I unmute you?
No, that should do it. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Yep. Yep. Okay, Jabby, you're next. You're good to go.
Hi, Will. It's Jan. I have some concerns about the perennial EBS, and are you anticipating a market crash, which they have said over and over again we'll have, then we won't have? And what does it take? What will it take to initiate this domino, which we were told the EBS promises of this emergency broadcast system, which comes and goes and comes and goes. So what is your take on this domino where we get the United States notes, NESARA, and they all are in a neat package? This market crash is supposed to initiate all this, but we don't need that market crash. But we need the EBS for the roundup of these arrests. And we keep anticipating this and we get let down. So this has been going on for months and months. And now they have to introduce this crypto. And it was never, the crypto was never a requirement for the domino, for the NESARA, for the United States notes, for all the other things. So how is, in your view, all of this playing out? And what can we do? Do we need this market crash because it's part of the financial system that has to go? It just seems like they're reworking these things over and over again. But what I see are the people suffering tremendously, waiting for this. Now, are people trying to do work? Are people trying to be active? Are people trying to be preoccupied? Yes. But it's this monetary system that was promised us, even a Doge account, it has not materialized. So what is your view? What's your take on this domino, whether or not we're going to have this market crash, whether we need it to anticipate the domino effect? And how does this all play into the crypto? Do we need the crypto? Because we never needed that to initiate NESARA, which is my focus anyway. I'd rather have NESARA than the money. But because there's 23 items in that, and very important, significant things for a lot of people, including common law, constitutional law, a writ of the bar and the attorneys and the courts, all this stuff, so important. So do we need the crypto? Are we going to require the market crash? What is your general view on all of this? And can you help us understand what's going on here? Thank you.
Well, if you haven't figured out, I don't agree with most of the stories going around on Telegram. And that's just one platform. There's many that goes around about the RV. I'm going to give you some truth that I've heard. And this is, I think, as close to the horse's mouth as you can get, because it's coming from those that are literally funding the revaluation of currencies.
Mm-hmm. Great.
They want NESARA implemented by law so that this can never happen again. They're not going to release the money unless it's done. Okay. They want a new financial system that is not built upon graft and theft that we currently have, where they can hide the money laundering and everything in the back room. They've never specified, oh, it's got to be crypto to me, even though I've been at this for many, many years, but they said there has to be a new way of delivery. You're not going to take, we have a debt-based financial system all over the world. It's a debt-based system. The cabal runs it. Okay. The software it runs on is called Babylon. Okay.
Right.
You don't even hide this stuff. Okay. So you have a system that is based on debt. You can't create more money unless you create a debt that goes with that. you'll never getting rid of debt with a system like this, ever. You're not going to take gold, asset-backed currency, and dump it into a debt system. Why would you do that? It's like, you remember the old saying, don't put new wine in old bottles? This
You
is
can't
this
though.
is what we're dealing with here. Okay. We can't
Will
do
the-
that. And that's why there's a requirement that the banks have to be upgraded to a new system. They need to be on ISO 20022 so that they can't hide the graft and the theft anymore. Okay, so this is a little bit of a background now. When it comes to EBS and market crashes and everything else, let me ask you something. What do you see this administration doing that suggests they're going to tank the market?
The Fed Reserve
Probably
has,
that's a rhetorical question, but they're not going in a direction that tries to harm the country. We're not on plan B, C, or D at this point. We're on X, Y, and Z. Okay. The plan's been changed a lot.
right. I agree.
It's a fluid thing that's constantly been moving. And it's always been done in a way to try to preserve human life and to keep us from firing bullets at each other. Okay. Partly why it's taking so long. Because the Patriots weren't satisfied with just go in guns a-blazing, because that was going to be mass deaths to do that. So they had to find another way to conduct this, and that's what we're doing. It's psychological war. So instead, what we have is we have Congress passing laws. We have big, beautiful bills being passed. We have the president issuing executive orders that are all moving us in the direction of this, but we're doing it in a way that is, honestly, it's about as fast as the people asleep can choke it down, but not any faster. Okay. So, because if you go too fast, you choke them, right? We need everybody to come along this together. So it is, I know it's frustrating for somebody like yourself. You've probably been part of this movement for many years, and you're like, well, it's taking so long. Everybody's hurting in the meantime. And it's true. There's been a lot of suffering over the last 100 years, a lot. And it's not even needful. Like what everybody's going to find out is that the assets and wealth of this world are beyond your comprehension. It was never about lack of anything. It was always about control. And this is why the NESARA stuff's important, is the levers of control are being removed. It's being removed in the EPA. It's being removed in the health industry. They fired all the vaccine aboard, got all brand new people. I mean, everything's being completely retooled, right? Which is moving us in the direction of the SAR. But they're doing this in a way that's the narrative is believable. And so I don't, at this point, I'm not buying into this idea that somebody's going to flip a switch next Monday and everybody's going to have a big EBS message. It's going to be shock and awe. That's not how they're choosing to play this. They're playing it in a way that it isn't shock and awe. They're playing it in a way that everybody can accept what's coming.
So
Unfortunately, it means it's a little bit slower path, but it certainly is much less chaotic and much less dreadful for all involved.
Will, do you anticipate then that we're looking at the RV and NESARA, which go hand in hand, because there's still wars going on? I think they've given up on settling the four countries, but do you anticipate this domino based on the bills that pass and the crypto that they want to integrate? Do you anticipate this RV NESARA not until the 180 days, which is December, January?
Well, the 180 days started in March, so it concludes around the end of September.
Okay.
That in terms of the Treasury, what the Treasury has to do, and the Treasury isn't the only one upgrading their computer systems. Doge has been getting everybody on the upgraded computer system everywhere. Okay. Social Security is completely installing all brand new systems right now. I don't know if people know this. They probably don't. But they're installing all brand new servers, all new computers, new software. It's
Mhm.
modern. The old stuff
Yeah.
was on Cobalt. They had a Windows wrapper on the front to make you think it was modern, but it was Cobalt. Cobalt is before DOS.
I
That's how
know.
old it is. Okay.
My
So
brother
so
did his
they
50s
so
and
all of this is being redone. It takes time to do that. You don't want to um, create chaos, because if you flip the switch too soon and suddenly you've got 5 million people that never got their social security payments on time, what would you have? You would have mayhem in the streets. Absolute crazy.
So
They're
do
not
you,
playing it this way. They're playing it in a way that is logical, that is moving everybody onto the new system, that is getting everybody ready. The Fed now being ISO 20022 compliant is a step. Now everybody, whoa, the Fed's doing it, the banks are doing it. Oh, this is the thing to do now. Well, gosh, we've been talking about it for 5 years, but it's now finally coming to fruition. So we're getting there, and I think it's important. You have to understand, the enemy has infiltrated all of the groups, all the stuff you see on Telegram. It's there, it's everywhere. There is fake messages being put out to elevate your get you excited about next Thursday or next Monday or what Tuesday or whatever the date. They'll put out a date. Oh, this is going to go down. This is going to go down. And then what happens? It doesn't happen. Why? Because it was a fake message. And what's the purpose of it? The purpose is get people expectations up, crash them, and then they're down and depressed and they can't move forward. We don't move forward in the golden age in the new society on low vibration depression because it didn't happen. We move there on high vibration, on
right?
love and joy. And this is why I talk about this on these podcasts. Is I want people to understand we have everything to be excited about. We are moving in the right direction. I don't want to give you hopium. I want to give you real. I want to give you reality. And the reality is we're working our way through this, and we're bringing our neighbor along with this. They don't understand it all. Some of them are still fighting against what's happening, but they're accepting it anyway because it's happening, right? It's a real thing. It's reality. We have to make sure we don't live in whatever stories. So I can tell you this. Probably this is the most clear thing I can tell you about the RV and timing. I was told by those that know, if somebody gives you a date,
It's not
you
going to
can
be
dismiss
true,
them. You can dismiss them right now.
right?
We don't work on dates. We work on actualization of events.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. We want conclusion of progress. So if it takes an extra week, it takes an extra week.
So
But
do you,
but the goal doesn't change. The goal is still get it done, keep it moving forward. And be honest, 6 months ago, when this presidency first started in January, I didn't expect to even be as far along as we are by now. I'm amazed at how fast this is going now. It is picking up speed and it's moving, like I said, as fast as people asleep can handle it.
so you anticipate it's really necessary that we integrate the crypto before we initiate Nasara and all the other important steps
Why
for
why is ISO 20022 important to the RV? Let's talk about the RV for a second. Okay. For those that are new to this, I'm not talking about recreational vehicles that you go camping in. Okay. Talking about the revaluation of currencies. The revaluation of currency is going to be paid not in debt notes. You're going to be paid in an asset-backed currency. That means gold, silver, oil, real assets backing it. Okay. Why would you deliver that money in a debt-based broken system? You wouldn't do that. So there's going to be a new way to deliver money to you. And that money's coming through digital rails, real asset backed tokens. Okay.
But
Where they can get it right to you. It goes directly to you because it's really running like peer to peer, right? Directly to you. Doesn't go through a bank. The bankers never know what you're getting. Goes to you. This is an important concept to understand. So if we don't have the infrastructure yet to allow all that to freely work, we can't be in high expectation of the RV. We're not going to go to our bank and have them deliver everything for us. They deal in a debt-based system. Their systems are designed around debt. Okay. Now they're moving to blockchain. As I just explained, on Monday, it went live in banks.
Right.
They're getting on board. Okay. Could we get to the point where the banks are so integrated that they then could deliver? Possibly. But personally, I don't want my banker to know what I'm getting. I would rather they not know. And so the field is wide open in terms of capability. On blockchain, you can move any amount of money, and it takes the same amount of time to move 10 billion as it does to move $10. Same time.
But Will, we were always told
This is why this is why I have the opinion that I do about where we're going. Do I agree with everything online? No, I don't. Not everybody is going to agree with me. They're going to watch this video and go, oh, he's crazy. He's up in the night. I don't need people to agree with me.
but
I'm
Will,
telling you what I know from those that have been working at this for better than a decade. I've been at it 17 years, a long time.
and
I'm trying to give you the reality as best I understand.
But Will, we were told that we were going to have the use of the United States notes and the USTN prior to blockchain and the crypto, and that the crypto would be integrated into our use of physical money that was backed by gold, which is currently in the vaults of these banks. So that's why I don't understand. Now we have to wait longer for the approval of
Well,
this
have you seen this
blockchain and
currency
crypto.
yet? Has
I'm
anybody
sorry?
shown you this currency?
They said it's the $100 bills are circulating, the rainbow currency, but no, we haven't had it full circulation. But that's what we were told, and those are the reports I've read. And I'm also very connected, as you know. But we were told we were going to have this so that we can move. But I think
I was
Nassara
told
slowed down.
money, cash, the cash part of it was positioned a long time ago in order to be delivered to ATMs and whatnot. Okay.
Mhm.
However, it cannot be delivered, will not be delivered until it's announced.
Exactly.
You can't just say, oh, you're just going to go to your ATM and suddenly it's there. If
No,
it's there, somebody goofed up, right?
Right,
If
I
the
agree.
announcement didn't come prior to it. So what are we seeing right now? We're seeing rhetoric against the Federal Reserve. We're seeing everybody piling on. Yeah, the Federal Reserve. Yeah, they did this. They're too late. They're keeping interest rates high. It's costing us so much money as a country, which is true. If the interest rate fell by 3 points, like Trump said in that video, it would literally knock off billions and billions of dollars of repayment. Now, over the next 18 months, a third of the U.S. debt is going to be reset. In other words, it's going to be rolled into new loans. Okay. A third of 35 trillion is a lot of money, right? So bringing that rate down is a big deal. He's not wrong. He's right about every point is 300 billion. He's not wrong. It's absolutely true.
But you can't convert debt into gold.
But what the reality is does that debt exist?
No.
Now they've confiscated all this money from all these people who've done nefarious things. That won't, even though it's on the Treasury website, it's not going to be publicly announced yet, even though you can find it if you look. Okay. But for those asleep, they're not going to know until somebody, throws it on their television screen, that it's there, that it's been done. So, if you look at that, that's enough to pay off the debt. But my question is this: if the Federal Reserve is proven fraudulent, creating money out of thin air that came from no reserves that they had whatsoever, do we owe the money? Because
We
you can write that
absolutely
off with a
don't.
stroke of a pen.
And you can't convert it to the United States notes either. It's automatically eliminated. It's like, they don't connect
These
Right.
are
at all.
probably heavier subjects than some people wanted, but the reality is this, that we're moving in the direction where all of this can be delivered, but we can't do it in a day. It takes time to wire things. It takes time to install computers. It takes time to upgrade software. It takes time to remove bad actors that are in the system, which is taking place. All these things are a part of the reset. And when it's finally announced, by the time we get to that point, we're going to look back and go, oh man, we just lived through that whole reset for the last 18 months. Right? Because we're going to realize that, it was happening during the whole time. So,
I just
and
don't
that's where
want to
we
wait
are.
for
It is
blockchain.
happening. It's
I don't
happening
want to
right
wait.
now.
I don't for the
We got to get on to a few other questions,
for
Jamie,
Yes.
but thank you
Nassara.
for calling
Okay.
in.
Thanks so much, Bill.
Thank you, Jabby, for your passionate, critical thinking questions. You always have a lot of good questions. Christine, yes, I know I'm blurry. Sorry about that. I wasn't able to resolve that before this webinar. I'll make sure I resolve it before the next webinar. Daryl wants to know what happens to the Federal Reserve notes. I'm assuming he means along with the revaluation of currencies.
Okay. I want to make sure I understand the question. So what is the difference between Federal Reserve notes?
What happens to Federal Reserve notes?
Well,
For,
when new currency is issued, they have to give an opportunity for the people to bring in their old notes, their Federal Reserve notes, and exchange them. There has to be at least a window of time. This has happened in many countries where they've had some changes, where there's a window of time given. You need to go in and convert them. Now, that's going to be an interesting process for some. Most don't have that much cash laying around, so it's not that big a deal. If the money's in a bank, it's converted automatically. You don't have to worry about it. Okay. But if you're holding physical bills, then you're going to have to go in and you're going to say, okay, I had these sitting in a safe or under my mattress or whatever, and I just want to exchange them. That's going to be understandable for most people. When you have drug dealers wheeling in carry-on suitcases into the bank, they're going to start asking serious questions. Oh, wait a minute. Where'd you get all this cash? Right? And that's going to be a problem. So that in itself, the whole swap process is a bit of a sting, because if you've been operating a criminal enterprise trying to evade the system using cash, well, now you have to account for it at that day. And there may be some people going out in handcuffs that can't account for suitcases and suitcases of cash. I'm not saying that, somebody wasn't diligent. Maybe they had mason jars they buried in their backyard with notes stuck in them. There could be valid reasons for some of it, but if it's like gobs and gobs of it, there's something that's not quite right. So there is a process. Don't worry. There's a process of exchange, and this is in every country, by the way. It's not just in the United States. Every country will go and exchange, and it'll probably be at their bank, okay, where they would swap those notes for the new currency.
Very interesting answer. There's a lot of things in there I hadn't considered. Eric wants to know, would you say that the Fed now is a blockchain?
Yes, it is fully compliant with blockchain standard now. Yeah, as of Monday. But not just now. I showed you a list of things. Every item on the list is now compliant. That's ACH. Fedwire, international. It's all everything is now compliant. So that is a big deal because from this point forward, there's no way you can launder. You will be found the second you push the button. You try it. It's impossible now. And that is good. We needed to get to this place where we could stop the theft. So good things going on.
Beautiful. Kristen wants to know, where can I find information and learn about the digital world, like a Digital World 101? I know nothing and it is a foreign language to me. Thank you.
You know what? There's a few good videos actually on YouTube with people that have been in crypto space for 15 plus years that do some pretty good explanation about what is it, how does it work, and things like this. I would probably look for how-to videos on YouTube. There's actually quite a few good ones there. I've used it a few times myself when I was stuck. I'm like, wait a minute, what am I doing wrong here? And find a video from somebody that's just trying to help. And it is helpful. And so that would be a resource I think I would go to is look at other videos from people that are doing it, who are happy to share their knowledge and information. And it's a good way to learn about what it is and how you can use it. Once you get used to the process, you'll realize that you've got to, it's an app on your phone, where you're just going to be primarily functioning with the app. But if you have a hardware wallet, your wallet interfaces with the phone to confirm things, right? That's kind of how those work. So like you might initiate a transaction through the app on your phone. I'm going to use the phone as an example on your phone, but you might have confirmed that transaction through your hardware device, whether it be a ledger or a Trezor or whatever device that you have that's a hardware device. You have to confirm that because that's the activation of security keys on that hard device to actually do the transaction. So I'm actually not a good person to explain everything crypto. I mean, I understand it, but that's not my forte. So I would recommend go to YouTube. There's a ton of videos on it and you'll learn a lot.
Indeed, I call it YouTube University. All right, Donna wants to know, what is the difference between $XRP and $XRP? For example, is one ISO 20022 compliant and the other is not?
You mean in terms of how it appears on the exchanges? If there's a hashtag by something, that they could maybe be doing that just to tag it like Twitter tag or whatever, right? Hashtag it.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, maybe it's appearing that way on social
Sometimes
media.
if there's a dollar sign, it just means that it's money. It's considered digital currency.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I'm not aware of them referring them to that in any crypto exchanges or wallets. It's just XRP and that's it. So,
But now we have AI, right? Like Grok and stuff. It picks up all the hashtag stuff.
right.
Which used to be Twitter. Now it's x.com. So.
All right. So, a question from Ash. What happened to the gold reserve inspection of Fort Knox, and how is gold-backed currency transparency going to occur for the new stablecoin-driven future economy?
The story about Fort Knox isn't over yet. It's just put off a little bit. It's all about timing. It really got ginned up and everyone's like, yeah, what about Fort Knox? That was important to plant the seed, but they needed people to marinate on that for a while, right? There's going to be a time when this is going to come back into focus and there's going to be a conversation about it. Now, my understanding is that Fort Knox is been restocked. It was that when Trump came in his first presidency, it was empty, but it's been restocked and there is everything needed there to take us where we need to go. So, but that isn't the only depository. There's actually several throughout the country. It's not just one place.
Okay. Blair Mills has another question. First, he wants to say, thank you for your great monthly updates and addressing my questions. You are so cool and calm and explain everything so easily. Some other truthers that I follow have reported other signs from others regarding volcanic earthquakes, floods, fire, will be increasing as the cabal falls. Are these additional signs of the reset or no pain before the gain, like childbirth?
There's a lot that's happening, and I'm trying to put this in a way that is understandable. The people on the earth, you and I, and those of us that are here tonight having this discussion, we're just part of the earth, right? But the earth itself is also undergoing changes. It's becoming something of a more glorious place to be. And there are physical changes that are part of that. Now, some of the earthquakes are real and the earth changes. Half of the earthquakes over the last several years have been artificial because they were demolition blowing up underground tunnels. I'm understanding now that a lot of that tunnel work is now slowing down. But it doesn't mean that those blasts haven't disrupted some things and created an environment where there could be a little more movement before it settles. Okay. So, had the cabal not sunk these deep tunnels and done all that stuff, we wouldn't have had to do the extensive work that we've had to do in terms of the underground. The military for years, if you look over the last 10 years, talked a lot about close quarter combat and tunnel training. A lot. Because it was a real thing. The only downside to that is some of the soldiers that had to go into these tunnels, they saw things that left them very scarred. PTSD is understatement. There were hardened, battle-tried warriors that were sent into some of these tunnels that when they saw the things they saw, condition of children in cages, that they literally broke them and they were on the ground in a fetal position crying because of what they saw. That's not a one-time coincidence. It's happened numerous times. The fight that we have against the evil has been real. It is darker than anybody knows because they've tried to always keep it in the shadows. They don't want to know how really dark it is unless you're a part of it. But that plays into part of the earth. The earth has to renew itself. It has to be cleansed from this that's gone on, just as we need to be cleansed from it. And we need to see what's happened. We have to acknowledge what's taken place so that it's not repeated again. And I don't think there's much difference between the earth and ourselves in terms of this ascension. We're all moving there together. And anytime you are in a process of movement, movement is what you get. So when it comes to earthquakes and volcanoes and stuff, in some ways, it looks to me as if the earth is crying out for what has been done. And I don't blame it for crying. We're kind of at the end of our evening here, but I want everybody to know that love for yourself and love for your neighbor and your family is the cure for what has gone on. We have to begin to care for each other and love each other in a way that is healing for us. We are resilient. We can heal. We can overcome this. We can be incredibly better. And the evidence is now all around us that we have a government that's actually working in a direction that we need to go. It's going to take a little time to finish this. They want it done no later than the birthday of the nation. next July 4th. All of it done. Okay. I think a lot gets done this year. I think a lot can be done before Christmas. Major things, but you have to understand that full cleanup of everything, we could be some years doing all that, processing everything. But the reality is we need to stay in love. We need to stay in light. We need to be careful that we're not listening to narratives that are hyping us up to just crash us, because it's designed it's designed on purpose to actually keep your energy down through the disappointment phase. I just want you to be aware of that there's infiltration of the enemy everywhere. And so it's important that we stay focused on keeping our light, our energy, everything up. And most importantly, that we love through the process. And if you'll do that, you'll find it so much easier, and it's just a much better experience of transition. I hope this is helpful for everybody. I certainly love you. I appreciate this audience. Brilliance of Commerce is awesome. Nice to be with all of you tonight. I'll let Seth close us out. Thank you, everyone.
Just to let you know, you got a lot of praise from the audience for that last answer there. I think that's a beautiful place to end this meeting. We're going on almost 2 hours now. Tonson, did you have any final words before we close out?
I just totally agree. I agree with you. I agree with everyone who is appreciating Will. And Will, you are so loved. Your balance between watching what is actually going on from the official sources, focusing on the good, focusing on the true, and remaining centered and stable, and recommending centeredness in one's own being, in the center of one's own divinity, as we move forward in evolving the country and the world beyond, the dark age. And I'm here on this planet for the golden age. That's all I'm here for. So I celebrate the great, great, great messengers. I bow at your feet. I thank you. We do have a lot to celebrate. It's very important that we focus on it, because guess what? What you put your attention on grows in your life. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay, everyone. I'm sorry if I didn't get around to your questions in this meeting, but as always, there will be another one. And we will see you there. Thank you for being here, and have a wonderful day, afternoon, night, wherever you are. Take care, everybody.
Have a good night, everyone. See you next time.